By now you should have spent 2 lessons on this project, Fantastical Worlds and Wonderlands. You will have done a mind map to look for ideas, and you have done an observational drawing looking out of a window at home. This was also to help you inspire your ideas. Lesson 3 is about researching the work of other artists. Your task is to choose at least one artist or a group of artists to research from slides 13 to 21. All artists borrow skills and ideas from other artists to improve their own work and skills and to help them understand ideas. So first, you're going to need to decide which artist or group of artists you find most interesting or want to learn ideas and techniques from. Secondly, use the research grids on slides 12 and 13 to guide your research. You need to find out about the artists. What is their work about? How do they make their work? What is most important about their work, skills and techniques? Then you're going to make something. You're going to draw or paint examples of their work. Can you figure out how they have made their work? Can you show this visually by testing that technique? What formal elements of art are important in their work? That's on slide 12 of the PowerPoint. Show it by recreating it. So let's have a look back at number 1. You are going to look through the slides in the PowerPoint. In a minute, I'm going to show them to you briefly. You choose one that you find inspiring. So their technique is something you like. You want to look at how they're making it, how much detail, what colours they're using, how they use line, shading and mark making. We call these ideas the formal elements. I'm going to talk about those in a minute as well. This is what the research grid looks like. We'd like you to start by writing the name of who you are looking at in that middle box where it says who. Then above and below that you can write when they made the artwork, which art movement they were part of, if any, they might not be, and where they made it. That helps provide context. Then either side of that you can see more information boxes. There's a what. In the what box you're going to put what does the work look like. What is it made out of? This is the content of the artwork, what it looks like. Try and describe it in words. You can even draw a little picture there. Why did they make it? That's over on the other side, up in the corner. Okay, why were they making that kind of artwork? What were their interests? Then below that it's how. What techniques? Can you find out anything useful about how they made it? If you want to show greater understanding, you can do the extension activity over in that bubble in the corner, but those are the core bits of information. Here you can see the grid without any writing in it and some explanation of content and context. You're going to need to print this page off, so you can print off this slide from the PowerPoint you've been given, or attached to the task in Doddle, there should be a Word document that is just this one. Okay. It looks slightly different. There's a bigger area in the middle to put the artist name, but it's basically the same thing. It's going to help you think about how to gather all the relevant information to help you with your artist research. This slide gives you the basics of the formal elements and principles of art and design. These are the ideas that help us think about how to put a picture together. So when you're looking at how the artists make their work, this is what you're looking at. So you've got line, shape, colour, value, form, texture and space. These are the formal elements. And when you add these together, you get ideas like balance, contrast, emphasis, movement, pattern, rhythm and unity. We're interested in more in the elements at the moment rather than the principles. So look at how the artist has used line. We've talked about that lots so far in Key Stage 3. Shape, how does the line become shape? What colours they use? Value is another word for tone really. It's lights and darks. How do they shade their pictures? How do they make light appear in it? Form is about 3D shapes. They don't like things to look flat a lot of the time, artists. They like to have some sort of volume going on, an illusion of space. Texture and space. Okay, you can look these things up online and learn more about them, but we have talked about them in school. What do you remember? The first slide of artists shows Arthur Rackham's illustrations, drawings from, he was born in 1867 and died in 1939. He was well known for these very fanciful pictures of fairies and fairy folk. They are very realistic in style, very naturalistic. They show lots and lots of detail. The colours are quite muted, lots of earth tones like browns and sepia, and not very vivid and bright, but the detail is really, really kind of fine and lots to look at in them. So if you like the idea of doing illustration, he's a good person to look at. Marc Chagall was a painter at the beginning of the 20th century. His paintings, if you look at them quite closely, show lots of things from real life, but put together, the composition, in a more kind of fanciful, dreamlike world. So he was inspired by lots of poetry and folk tales and kind of his dreams and his imagination, but the way he painted it was by looking at how it looked in the real life, so observational drawing and playing with that. You can see they're quite vivid colours and expressive and kind of a bit bonkers, really. So have a good look at Marc Chagall if you fancy having a go at some imaginative, colourful painting. Salvador Dali was famous for his surrealist paintings. You might have seen his melting clock pictures or some of his other dreamscapes. These drawings by him are illustrations of Alice in Wonderland, so he was inspired by that. So you can see elements of that story in there. But on the picture on the far left, you'll see the shape of the melting clock that he's famous for. So he's interwoven all the ideas he's famous for into these rather beautiful ink type drawings, which are expressive and lovely, eerie, spooky, dreamlike quality about them. You don't have to do just drawing and painting. If you've got the stuff at home, you could do a textiles piece. So these are two different types of textile pieces. One's a knitting on the left, so somebody's knitted a kind of vivid, colourful overcoat to a sculpture and wrapped it around it. I think that's called yarn bombing. So you could explore yarn bombing and how people have made alternative things like that with knitting or crochet. And on the right there is a picture, so it's still flat, it's not 3D this one, but it's been embroidered, so you could sew a really fine picture of a scene that evokes another world. This is a forest. If you have some modelling materials to hand, you might want to do something 3D out of clay, plasticine, or something like that, or any found objects really. It doesn't have to be clay if you haven't got that at home, but here you've got two artists who have created very imaginative things, one based on real sea life stuff and combine it with a kettle, and the other one these fanciful little men from another world. And of course, there are comics and graphic novels exploring this theme of fantasy worlds. If you're going to look at this, it's fine, but we want to see the highest quality drawing and attention to detail that you can manage. So don't be fooled. Just because they've simplified it into more cartoony styles, it's not an easy choice. You want to really look closely at how they've put together these really complicated scenes to show drama and story, what colours they've used and line. We're not interested in you making this easy for yourselves, we're interested in you learning. You'll find a slide with other useful online resources listed. This isn't everything that's out there, obviously. On YouTube there are loads of helpful videos. There are also some really good websites that tell you about artists, like theartstory.org. In the course of your research, you will probably find lots of useful stuff. So keep a record of where you find the information in case you want to go back to it. Hopefully, this short video will help you understand how you are going to do your artist research. So remember, go back to the slide PowerPoint, because that breaks these things down and you can read it in your own time. Your first job is to choose what kind of art you're interested in learning about. So use the suggestions we've given you to start yourself off. If you then find a similar artist, it's okay to look at that too. But give yourself one thing to think about at a time. Okay? Then do the research, find out about them, then have a go at making something like their work. Okay, good luck and enjoy.